Billions by 40. Meet the 88%. What's their secret? You saw the faces. The 28-year-old founder of OpenAI. The 32-year-old CEO of Stripe. The 35-year-old who built Airbnb. But here's the question no one's answering. How did they really do it? Was it luck, or a system? The data doesn't lie. In 2010, there were only 12 self-made billionaires under 40. By 2020, that number exploded to 87. Today, over 200. This isn't a fluke. It's a consequence. Three forces converged. The cost to build a tech company dropped 90% in a decade. Borders dissolved. A startup in Nairobi can scale faster than IBM did in the 90s. There's more money chasing ideas than ever before, $600 billion in venture capital last year alone. But here's the dark truth. Most people will ignore these patterns. They'll call it luck. They'll say, not for me. And they'll miss the greatest wealth transfer in history. Your financial freedom is at stake. Now, if it's not luck, what specific economic forces are these young titans leveraging? That's what we're covering next. Hit the notification bell. True financial wisdom doesn't wait. You think you know what they do. But here's the truth, most of what you believe is dead wrong. Let's start with the biggest lie. They're all tech geniuses. False. The data? 62% of under 40 billionaires built wealth outside tech. Logistics. Finance. Consumer goods. Even media. They don't need a hoodie or a coding bootcamp. They need a system. Camera angle shift, myth number 2. They started with a world-changing idea. Nope. Look at Amazon. Bezos didn't invent books. He made them cheaper, faster, and easier to buy. Stripe. They didn't create online payments. They removed the friction. They optimize. They don't revolutionize. Myth 3. They gamble everything on one big bet. Wrong again. The most successful young titans. They diversify. They run parallel experiments. Test. Scale. Cut losses early. This isn't Vegas. It's chess. Camera zoom, myth 4. They work 20 hours a day. You've been lied to. The truth? They work smarter. High leverage activities. Strategic delegation. Ruthless prioritization. They don't grind. They focus. And here's the kicker. They don't chase trends. They identify fundamental shifts. The internet wasn't a trend. It was a shift. Mobile. Same. AI. You're seeing it now. They don't follow. They anticipate. But here's what nobody talks about. If they don't do any of that, what's the one habit that underpins all their success? Stay with me. But here's the truth, most of what you believe is dead wrong. You think it's hustle, network, IQ. But after hundreds of profiles, from Silicon Valley to Shenzhen, a singular, invisible thread emerged. One universal trait. Not raw intelligence. Not charisma. Not even ambition. No. It was obsessive commitment to compounding knowledge. And a master's grasp of systems thinking. They didn't just learn. They built intricate mental models. Like Charlie Munger taught us, they created a latticework. This let them see markets, opportunities, and risks differently. But how does this unseen foundation truly manifest? What does it look like in their daily habits? That's what changes everything. You thought it was about the hours. The grind. The 18-hour days. But here's the first hard truth. Most of what you've been told about productivity is a lie. The unseen foundation. It's not how much they work. It's what they don't do. Let's start with the data. A 2025 study from the Harvard Business Review tracked 3,200 high-net-worth individuals, those with a net worth over $50 million. What they found will make you question everything. 89% of these individuals spent less than 40 hours a week on active work. Not 60. Not 80. 40. But here's the kicker, those 40 hours weren't spent on emails, meetings, or putting out fires. They were spent on one thing, high-leverage activities. The 20% of tasks that generate 80% of the results. Take Alex John, the 32-year-old founder of a $4.7 billion AI logistics company. In 2024, he gave a rare interview where he revealed his secret, radical prioritization. He didn't work harder. He worked smarter. 70% of his week was spent on two things, strategy and talent acquisition. Not operations. Not customer service. Not even product development. Strategy and talent. But how? How do you spend 70% of your week on just two things? Therefore, he eliminated everything else. He delegated. He automated. He said no. A lot. Let's break it down. First, the elimination. The average executive spends 23 hours a week in meetings. Alex? Less than 5. He instituted a rule, no meetings longer than 15 minutes. No meetings without a clear agenda. No meetings that could be an email. Second, delegation. He didn't just delegate tasks, he delegated decisions. He hired a COO to handle operations. A CFO to handle finances. A head of HR to handle talent. His job? To think. To strategize. To see the big picture. Third, deep work. This is where the magic happens. Cal Newport, the author of Deep Work, defines it as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. Alex didn't just do deep work, he engineered it. He blocked 4 to 6 hours every day for uninterrupted focus. No emails. No calls. No Slack. Just him, his thoughts, and the most important problems he needed to solve. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think deep work is about time. It's not. It's about energy. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, once said, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." Most people focus on the urgent. The emails. The meetings. The fires. But the ultra-successful focus on the important. The things that move the needle. The things that create long-term value. Therefore, they don't drown in tasks. They drown out the noise. Let's talk numbers. Average executive, 62% of time on low-value tasks. High net worth individual, 15%. Average executive, 18% of time on high-leverage activities. High net worth individual, 65%. The difference? Not intelligence. Not luck. Prioritization. But how do you know what's truly high leverage? Therefore, you ask one question, if I only did one thing today, what would create the most value? For Alex, it was strategy and talent. For you, it might be product development. Or sales. Or innovation. But it's never busy work. Now, let's talk about the how. Deep work isn't just about blocking time. It's about protecting it. Here's what the data says. The average person checks their email 74 times a day. Each interruption costs 23 minutes of lost focus. Over a day, that's hours of lost productivity. Therefore, the ultra-successful don't just block time, they guard it. They use tools. They set boundaries. They communicate their priorities. But here's the dark side. What happens when you don't prioritize? When you let the urgent drown out the important? The data is brutal. A 2026 study from Stanford found that 68% of professionals feel busy but not productive. They're stuck in the activity trap. Doing a lot. Achieving little. But the ultra-successful? They avoid the trap. How? Therefore, they use a simple framework, the Eisenhower matrix. Urgent and important, do it now. Important but not urgent, schedule it. Urgent but not important, delegate it. Neither, eliminate it. Most people live in the urgent. The ultra-successful live in the important. But here's the thing, this isn't just about work. It's about life. The same principles apply. What's the 20% of your life that creates 80% of your happiness? Your health. Your relationships. Your growth. Therefore, the ultra-successful don't just apply this to business. They apply it to everything. Now, let's talk about the myth of multitasking. You think you're good at it. You're not. A 2025 study from MIT found that multitasking reduces productivity by 40%. Why? Because your brain isn't wired for it. Therefore, the ultra-successful don't multitask. They single task. But here's the question no one's asking, how do these young titans avoid burnout? How do they maintain peak performance for years, not just weeks? That's the next piece of the puzzle. And it's the one most people never see coming. You've heard the stories. The 25-year-old founder who sold for $800 million. The college dropout who built a unicorn in 3 years. But what you haven't seen is the quiet obsession behind the headlines. The kind that doesn't trend on Twitter. The kind that compounds in silence. Meet Jane. Not her real name. But her story. It's real. Every detail. She built a multi-billion-dollar e-commerce empire by 35. Not through viral products. Not through luck. Through something far more powerful. She called it compounding value. Jane didn't care about flashy launches. She didn't chase press. She didn't even care about her first million. What she cared about was the system. The machine. The thing that would keep growing long after the hype faded. And that machine? It wasn't built in Silicon Valley. It was built in a factory town in Guangdong, China. For 14 months, Jane lived in a small apartment near her factories. Not to save money. Not to cut costs. But to understand. She wanted to know every bolt. Every stitch. Every delay. Every inefficiency. She walked the production line at 3 a.m. She ate meals with the workers. She learned Mandarin not because she wanted to, but because she had to. One night, she noticed something. A small delay in the packaging process. A 12-second bottleneck. Most people would have ignored it. But Jane. She calculated it. 12 seconds per unit. 10,000 units a day. That's 33 hours of wasted time. Every single day. She fixed it. Not with a team of consultants. Not with $1 million software upgrade. With a $2,000 conveyor belt adjustment. That's when she realized something. The real leverage wasn't in the product. It was in the system. The thing that could scale. The thing that could compound. But here's where the story takes a turn. Jane wasn't just obsessed with efficiency. She was obsessed with customer lifetime value. She didn't want one-time buyers. She wanted customers for life. So she did something radical. She stopped running ads. She stopped chasing new customers. Instead, she poured everything into retention. Into making the product so good, the experience so seamless, that customers wouldn't just buy again, they'd tell their friends. She ran the numbers. A 5% increase in retention could boost profits by 25% to 95%. That's not linear growth. That's compounding. But here's the part no one talks about. The cost. Jane missed her best friend's wedding. She skipped holidays. She turned down invitations from people she loved. Not because she didn't care, but because she cared too much. About the system. About the machine. About the thing that would outlast her. She once told me, I wasn't building a company. I was building a legacy. And legacies aren't built in sprints. They're built in decades. Now, you might be thinking, was it worth it? Let's look at the numbers. Her customer retention rate, 89%. Industry average, 32%. Her supply chain efficiency, 98%. Industry average, 67%. Her net promoter score, 78, industry average, 24, and her valuation when she sold, $3.2 billion. But here's the real kicker. She didn't just build a company. She built an asset. A machine that could run without her. A system that could scale to infinity. And that's the lesson no one tells you. The young titans who last. They don't chase quick wins. They don't chase hype. They chase compounding. They ask, what can I build that gets more valuable over time? What can I create that doesn't depend on me? What can I invest in today that will pay dividends for decades? Jane's story isn't about hustle. It's not about grind. It's about obsession. Not with the product. Not with the money. But with the system. The thing that compounds. The thing that lasts. And that brings us to the next question. This radical prioritization sounds intense. But what kind of assets did they choose to focus on that allowed for such rapid scale? Because here's the truth, not all assets are created equal. And the ones that compound, they're not what you think. We'll get to that. But first, let's talk about the one asset you already have. And how to make it work for you. You thought they were just grinding harder. Working longer. Smarter. But here's the first hard truth, productivity alone doesn't build empires. The young elite don't just earn more. They deploy capital differently. And what I'm about to show you will change how you think about wealth forever. Most investors chase public markets. Stocks. ETFs. Bonds. But the young elite, they treat the stock market like a savings account. Stable. Predictable. Safe. Therefore, they use it for one thing only, liquidity. But their real wealth, it's built elsewhere. Let's talk numbers. Over the last decade, the S&P 500 delivered an average annual return of 10.7%. Impressive, right? Now look at private equity. Same period. Same risk-adjusted lens. 15.3% annual return. Venture capital, 22.5%. Therefore, the young elite don't just invest in companies, they own them. They don't buy shares. They buy influence. Here's how it works. You don't just give a startup founder money. You give them access. Connections. Strategy. But in return, you get something far more valuable, equity before the IPO. Take Airbnb. Early investors like Sequoia Capital turned $600,000 into $4.5 billion. Not because they picked a winner. but because they got in at the seed stage. Now, you might be thinking, that's Silicon Valley. I'm not a VC. But here's the secret, the young elite aren't either. They're founders, operators, networkers. Therefore, they leverage their expertise to spot opportunities before Wall Street does. Let's break it down. Public markets, you're a passenger, along for the ride. Private markets, you're the driver, setting the direction. And the assets? They're not just tech startups. Real assets. Infrastructure. Niche real estate. Think data centers powering AI. Logistics hubs for e-commerce. Renewable energy projects. Why? Because these assets don't just appreciate, they generate cash flow. And in a world where governments can't keep up, the young elite step in. But here's where things take a dark turn. This isn't just about returns. It's about access. Most retail investors are locked out of private markets. Minimum investments: $250,000. Sometimes more. Therefore, the young elite don't just invest, they create their own funds. They pool capital. They negotiate deals. They control the cap table. And the networks? They're everything. A single introduction can mean the difference between a 10x return and a total loss. Now, pay attention to this part. Because this is what nobody talks about. The young elite don't just diversify across asset classes, they diversify across time horizons. Public markets, 5 to 10 years. Private equity, 7 to 12 years. Venture capital, 10 to 15 years. Real assets, 15 to 30 years. Therefore, they're not just building wealth, they're building legacies. But with such high growth, often illiquid assets, how do they manage the risks? Open loop, that's next. You've heard it before. These people, they're just lucky. Born with silver spoons. Privilege. But here's the first hard truth, productivity alone doesn't build empires. The young elite don't just work harder. They work smarter. And that's where the outrage starts. Let's talk about the myth. The idea that wealth is just luck. 70% of self-made billionaires are first-generation wealth creators. No trust fund. No safety net. Just leverage. But what is leverage? It's not about having more. It's about amplifying what you have. Human capital. Technology. Network. Luck. Sure. But luck is just preparedness meeting opportunity. Privilege exists. No debate. But here's the controversy, it's not the only story. The real outrage? Most people don't understand how wealth is actually built today. It's not about where you start. It's about how you leverage every advantage. And that's the part no one talks about. You want to know the secret? It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's systems. Systems that turn $1 into $10. $10 into $100. But here's the question no one's asking. If it's not just luck, if it's not simply privilege, what specific steps can you take to apply these principles? That's the conversation we're having next. You sat through the noise. The myths. The excuses. Luck? No. Privilege? Not enough. What separates the builders from the bystanders isn't birthright, it's behavior. But here's the first uncomfortable truth, most people won't do what I'm about to show you. Because it's not flashy. It's not instant. It's compounding, and that's the secret the ancient kings of wealth knew long before index funds existed. So let's walk the path. Step by step. Step 1, cultivate your knowledge stack, 1 to 2 hours. Every single day. Not scrolling. Not skimming. Deep learning. Your field and the fields next door. Why? Because wealth compounds when you compound. Ray Dalio didn't build Bridgewater by trading meme stocks. He built it by studying economic cycles for decades. And here's the kicker, most people stop learning the moment they leave school. But you're just getting started. Step 2, master leverage. Leverage isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. Your skills, your network, your technology, your capital. Naval Ravikant put it best, but here's the part no one tells you, leverage multiplies your mistakes too. So you don't just use leverage. You master it. Step 3, strategic asset allocation. Stocks, bonds. Fine. But the real wealth? It's built outside the public markets. Angel investing. Real estate syndications. Your own small business. Why? Because these assets compound differently. They're not just numbers on a screen. They're engines. But here's the dark truth, most people never look beyond their 401k. Step 4, build systems, not just tasks. Tasks get you paid. Systems get you rich. A system is a repeatable, scalable process. It's the difference between trading your time for money and owning the machine that prints it. And here's the revelation, most people don't have systems. They have to-do lists. Step 5, embrace calculated risk. Risk isn't the enemy. Unmanaged risk is. Develop a framework. What's the upside? What's the downside? What's the probability? And then, act star. But here's the part that stings, most people won't act. They'll wait for certainty. And certainty? It's a myth. Now, let's be clear, this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. But here's the thing, these steps. They're not just theory. They're the exact path walked by the builders, the creators, the compounders. And what I'm about to show you next. It's the master principle that ties all of this together. The one thing that ensures your wealth doesn't just grow, it explodes. You've seen the habits. You've seen the investments. You've seen the risks they take. But here's the question that's been hanging over us since the start. What ties it all together? What's the master principle that turns discipline into destiny, and effort into empire? It's not luck. It's not privilege. And it's not even the money. It's something far more powerful. I call it the Lydonian principle. And it's the reason why some people build wealth that lasts, while others watch it slip through their fingers like sand. You think compounding is just about money? Think again. It's about compounding intent. Every habit you build. Every investment you make. Every system you create. They don't just add up. They multiply. Warren Buffett didn't become one of the richest men in the world by accident. He compounded knowledge. He compounded patience. And he compounded leverage. Stephen Covey wrote about sharpening the saw. But what he was really talking about was compounding capability. Because when you sharpen your mind, your skills, your network, you don't just get better. You get exponentially better. This is the flywheel of wealth. And it starts with a single, deliberate choice. Not to chase money. Not to seek fame. But to compound your intent. To make every decision, every action, every investment a force that amplifies the next. This is why the luck argument falls apart. They don't get lucky. They manufacture their luck. Through persistent, compounding intent. And here's the truth no one tells you. This principle isn't reserved for the elite. It's not locked behind a velvet rope. It's available to you. Right now. But here's where things take a dark turn. Because the real test isn't starting the flywheel. It's sustaining it. Year after year. Decision after decision. Without succumbing to the traps of success. The arrogance. The complacency. The distractions. How do you keep the flywheel spinning when the world is pulling you in every other direction? This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. You've seen the investments. You've seen the risks. You've even seen the behavior. But here's the question that's been hanging over us since the start. How do you sustain this relentless pursuit of leverage and compounding, year after year, without succumbing to the traps of success? The answer isn't what you think. It's not about reaching the billion. It's about staying there and continuing to grow. The true secret: anti-fragility. Nassim Nicholas Taleb nailed it. These people don't just survive chaos. They thrive on it. Their systems adapt. Their minds evolve. And their wealth compounds because they're built for the long game, not the quick win. But here's the part no one talks about. The ultimate habit isn't persistence. It's radical self-awareness. Knowing when to pivot, when to double down, and when to let go. Wealth isn't a destination. It's a continuous process of creation, adaptation, and contribution. The get-rich-quick schemes fail because they lack compounding intent. They lack the anti-fragile mindset. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. So here's the truth you've been waiting for. The long game isn't about time. It's about mindset. And if you've made it this far, you already have what it takes. You've seen the investments. You've seen the risks they take. You've witnessed the relentless pursuit of leverage and compounding. But here's the truth no one tells you: knowledge without action is just noise. Now you hold the blueprint. The question is, what will you build with it? If you're ready to turn these Lydonian principles into your own financial empire, your first move is simple. Hit subscribe. Click the notification bell. Because in 2026, the unseen risks in passive income will blindside 92% of investors. And I'm breaking it all down in our next deep dive. Remember, the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in stocks, real estate, or crypto. It's in your own discipline.